you see. And this is the direct contact of the black people with the power structure. You know, it's the man, it's the pig who's going to come and bother them, you see. But the only thing that has been lacking was a method by which to really move against it effectively. And those other organizations with those programs and those non-violent tactics and those appeals to God and Allah and whoever, the brothers didn't want to hear that. And so here all of a sudden, here come two niggas with some guns, stand up in front of the cop and talk to the cop just like the cop's talking to them, you know. They check that out. They really want to know what that's about, you see. If they don't decide that their life is too precious, you know, that they must live forever, if they don't decide that, then they come a little closer to the party.
Self-defense group in the limited fashion that you usually think of self-defense groups. I would like to use an example. When Fidel Castro started the revolution along with Che Guevara, it was 12 of them all together. They realized that they wouldn't be able to topple the oppressive regime in Cuba. What they were essentially was an educational body. They engaged with the army, they fought with the army, and they showed the people that the army was not bulletproof, that the police were not bulletproof, and that Batista's regime was not a regime that was impossible to topple. So the people started to feel their strength. The Black Panther Party feels very much the same way. We think that this educational process is necessary, and it's the people that will cause the revolution, and it's the people that will cause the change in the country. The Black Panther Party is simply the vanguard of the revolution, and we plan to teach the people the strategy and the necessary tools to liberate themselves.
No more brothers in jail. Off the pig. The pigs are gonna catch hell. Off the pig. No more brothers in jail. Off the pig. Pigs are gonna catch hell. Off the pig. No more brothers in jail. Off the pig. Pigs are gonna catch hell. Off the pig. No more brothers in jail. Off the pig. Pigs are gonna catch hell. Off the pig. No more brothers in jail. Off the pig. The pigs are gonna catch hell. Off the pig. No more brothers in jail. Off the pig. Pigs are gonna catch hell. Off the pig. No more pigs in our community. Off the pig. No more pigs in our community. Off the pig. No more pigs in our community. Off the pig. No more pigs in our community. Off the pig. No more pigs in our community. Off the pig. No more pigs in our community. Off the pig. No more pigs in our community. Off the pig. No more pigs in our community. Off the pig. No more pigs in our community. Off the pig. No more pigs in our community. Off the pig.
It was 1966, and Donald Chambers, a Marine veteran, had returned from Vietnam. He came up with the idea of putting together a group of men who shared a common interest: their bikes and living on the edge.
just to get together people that all like one thing, like a bowling club or anything else. In our case, it's motorcycles.
The group quickly developed an outlook on life and the way a biker should live it.
We like to tell people that the club was not in the business. You weren't supposed to give anybody any. You weren't supposed to take any from anybody.
The Bandidos were following in the footsteps of other big biker gangs through the years. In the 1930s, the Outlaws dominated Illinois. In the 1940s, the Hells Angels roared into existence in California. In the late 1950s, the Pagans arrived on the scene in Maryland. The 1960s became the Bandidos era, and they claimed Texas as their home turf. Chambers began to create an image for the gang. According to popular legend, he adopted the red and gold colors from the Marine Corps. The gang's name and mascot, Frito Bandito, were supposedly stolen from the corn chips that are still popular today. Ed Winterhalter, who was a member of the Bandidos for 7 years, says that's fiction. The colors, he insists, were chosen to replicate the venomous coral snake. The mascot reflected Chambers' appreciation of Mexican bandits.
Well, the character came from the actual banditos of Mexican folklore. Although they would go out and rape, plunder, and pillage other areas in their own backyard, they were their protectors.
The early 1970s saw the gang grow quickly into a force. The new recruits seemed to share a common background.
A common component is that most of these guys have had a missing piece of their childhood. So, in a sense, they are looking for a family.
I joined because, like I said, I wanted to be a part of what I thought was one of the best or baddest organizations where I could go anywhere and there were banditos there and I could party and have fun with them.
That brotherhood was particularly attractive to some Vietnam vets who joined the gang in droves.
In the late 60s, early 70s, there was an influx of people coming back from the military that wanted that adrenaline rush that they had. And they wanted to replicate it here. And they also wanted to replicate the camaraderie, the brotherhood that they had with their fellow soldiers in Vietnam.
The drug culture that was so much a part of the war came back from Southeast Asia with the new pledges. Taking a page from the Hells Angels, the Bandidos made meth as much a part of the gang as their motorcycles. Not only did the drug keep them awake during runs, but it was also a moneymaker.
Methamphetamine's always been the biker's drug. The Hells Angels are kind of the trendsetters in the outlaw motorcycle gang world. That's just the reality of it. And as much as these other gangs hate them, they do follow them, they do mimic their behavior.
The Bandito Nation expanded in the 1970s as new chapters spread throughout Texas and several surrounding states. The San Antonio chapter kept a tight rein on membership. They called the shots.
We didn't want to throw a patch on and come to us to say we're going to do this because, you know, that's dictating us, and we didn't do that. We weren't dictated to, we were doing dictating.
It was clear early on the Bandidos meant business. In 1972, they punished two brothers for trying to pass off baking soda as cocaine. Chambers, the founder and president of the Bandidos, forced them to dig their graves. Then he shot them at close range and set fire to their corpses. Chambers was charged with a double murder and sentenced to life in prison. Despite losing their leader, the Bandidos continued to expand their membership and their criminal activities.
There was an evolution of the guys having a good time to where some of the guys, it became a full-time thing for them to commit minor crimes and live their life off of the proceeds.
By the 1980s, authorities said the Bandidos had grown into a widespread illegal narcotics enterprise. Members set up distribution networks and turned a profit selling drugs.
A lot of these guys are unemployed, Their gang is their occupation, it is their job. You might have 2 members that are stealing motorcycles, 2 members that are selling cocaine, a couple of members that are into marijuana.
The Bandidos branched into other criminal activities, dealing in stolen motorcycles, gun running, and prostitution.
It's an expensive lifestyle. These guys are required to travel on a regular basis. These guys have to get their money somewhere. They can't just support this off of thin air, and that's where the criminal activity comes in.
The 80s also witnessed the gang's international expansion as Bandidos converted existing motorcycle clubs into new sets. It was a new way to grow their criminal business. And before long, chapters in Australia and Europe were patching over.
You have to get international because it gives you access to foreign chapters that have access to narcotics that can help you with importation and with your drug distribution network.
The Bandidos were now a global criminal network, and law enforcement took notice. In 1985, federal agents arrested 82 members of the Bandidos in 8 states, charging them with manufacturing and selling meth. In addition to drugs, authorities seized more than 150 illegal weapons.
And that is the pain that more police families are feeling in recent times across the country, but unfortunately it's not unusual. Police deaths going back 50 years, I'll show you right over here, have regularly numbered over 100 a year, with a low back in 1959, then moving to a high of 279 in the 1970s, and then as we go to the second lowest total all the way here, 117, that was 2009, only to see a spike in 2010 up to 162. Now, when it comes to police deaths by gunfire, the last 2 years, they're not good, and maybe worse. This year to date, we're 40% higher so far. The reasons are widely debated here. Some say the recession could be driving people over the top. And here's that same graph right now of police deaths. And what we've done is put red bars to show the recession. You see 2007 to 2009, that's a recession. Then we have 2001, we have the 1990s, we have the 80s, the 70s, a difficult time. That's when we had the all-time high for deaths, and then back to 1960 as well. So these are some of the considerations, as well as, is it a new type of criminal, an anti-authority criminal that might be on the rise? That's what the National Law Enforcement Officials Memorial Fund is saying. And also the highly debated issue, the effect of major cuts in police forces to save money. Now,